Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we've got a seriously fascinating piece of source material to unpack titled Echoes of the Final Warning. Now, if you follow eschatology, the theology around the final events of history, this text provides a highly structured, super compelling look at how the things we do today are deeply connected to future events. We're going to examine the internal logic here, specifically looking at the urgency of sounding a warning message right now and how that ties into a really profound theological hope for the future. It's kind of like a masterclass in the psychology of crisis and memory, so let's get right to it. Okay, let's dive into this. The source material basically kicks things off by grounding its urgency in a specific, totally dramatic premise. It points to a future event described as a great tribulation, and the sheer scale of what they're talking about is absolutely massive. The text says it's something such as has not occurred since the world's beginning until now. By using this foundational concept, the text establishes incredibly high stakes. We're talking about a scenario of unprecedented global crisis here. And it's precisely this anticipation, waiting for this monumental future event, that actually drives the entire framework of actions the text outlines for believers today.
Section 1. An urgent warning message. The present-day call to pure worship.
So, let's look at the immediate, actionable goals the text actually lays out. Given those incredibly high stakes we just talked about, the source states a primary objective for believers right now. They are supposed to actively sound the warning message. The hope, and this is explicitly stated in the text, is that as many people as possible will listen, respond to that warning, and join them in what they term pure worship now. So it's a very active, ongoing effort. The whole emphasis is on the present moment, right? Getting people to hear the message and act on it immediately, with this intense sense of urgency before any of those anticipated future events actually start to unfold. But here is where the text introduces a really compelling pivot. It directly asks a vital question. But what about those who do not heed the warning at this time? And this is a fascinating acknowledgement of a central dilemma. It recognizes the hard reality that, not everyone is going to listen. The message is often going to go unheeded. By asking this question, the source material effectively shifts our timeline. We're moving away from the frustration of being rejected today and looking forward to see how this ignored warning might actually play a critical role down the line.
Moving on to Section 2. Destruction of Babylon, the catalyst for change.
To understand this catalyst, we really have to look at how the text introduces a theological entity it calls Babylon the Great. According to the source, there is a future world-shaking destruction awaiting this entity. But here's the interesting part. The text doesn't just focus on the destruction itself, it focuses heavily on the psychological impact of witnessing it. The source suggests that seeing this specific, catastrophic event unfold might be the exact shock to the system that triggers an awakening. It's presented as a potential turning point, a moment so undeniably massive that it could actually cause individuals who previously totally ignored the warning message to finally open their minds and experience a profound change of heart. So the crucial point is really captured in this one concept from the text. What we tell them now may give them something to remember then. The source connects this idea to the biblical book of Ezekiel, but just look at the psychological strategy at play here. It reveals that the present-day preaching work isn't just seen as a pass-or-fail endeavor right now. Instead, it's literally about planting a critical memory seed. The logic goes like this. Even if someone completely rejects the warning today, that warning is now permanently logged in their memory. And when that future crisis hits, that dormant memory might suddenly echo back to them, giving them context and meaning for the absolute chaos they are witnessing. And this illustrates exactly how the text justifies its expectation, basically by drawing a direct historical parallel. We've got a precedent here from the biblical book of Acts, the Philippian jailer. The text notes that this jailer only had a change of heart after a massive, completely terrifying earthquake occurred. Basically, it took a literal physical disaster to shift his perspective. By mapping this exact human reaction onto the future, the source argues that just like the earthquake shook the jailer awake, the future world-shaking destruction of Babylon the Great could be the disaster that shakes future populations awake. It's using a past biblical crisis as the exact blueprint for future theological salvation. Which brings us to Section 3, a future change of heart, before it is too late.
Okay. Let's walk through how this builds into a super clear, step-by-step, logical sequence. The source material basically maps out a distinct cause and effect timeline for salvation here. Step 1, the warning is sounded, right now, in the present. Step 2, the anticipated destruction of Babylon the Great occurs in the future. Step 3, The shock of witnessing that event triggers the memory of the warning that was heard way back in step 1. And finally, step 4. That triggered memory leads to an actual change of heart, prompting people to act before it's too late. It is a highly structured mechanism where every single step absolutely relies on the one before it.
So what does this all mean? Why does this actually matter? Well, according to the internal logic of the source text, the sheer urgency of sounding the warning message today isn't just about getting immediate conversions. Actually, it's an urgent investment in future salvation. Believers are motivated to keep sounding the alarm, even when they're totally ignored, because they believe they're fundamentally laying down a lifeline. They're preparing a sort of cognitive safety net that people are going to desperately need to rely on when a future crisis fundamentally alters their entire reality.
It really highlights this fascinating intersection of human psychology, memory, and crisis, which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to consider based on the text we've analyzed today. If a world-shaking event were to suddenly occur, what warnings from your past would suddenly echo in your memory?
For more information, please visit jw.org. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press the bell icon to get the notification for new videos.